What is up, YouTube? Thank you for tuning in to PAC Airsoft today. My name is Mason.
And I'm Chris.
And today for you, we just have a short, brief video on just some general airsoft safety reminders. Enjoy. Alrighty, everybody, we have 4 big topics that we want to discuss today. So, Chris, why don't you get us started with number 1?
Alright, so number 1 is always treat your airsoft gun as if it's a real firearm. So there's 4 basic commandments or really big rules when you're handling a real firearm. The first of which is always treat a firearm as if it's loaded. Number 2 is always keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to fire. Number 3 is always be aware of your target in foreground and background. Number 4 is never ever point a gun at something you're not willing to destroy. Those are the rules for real guns, but they also do carry over to airsoft guns. You can destroy an eye very easily. You can destroy some teeth. You could cause a lot of bodily harm and damage to property. So it's very good if you start with these real firearm rules. You'll carry over really good habits from airsoft to a real firearm if you ever do start shooting in the future. But it's also good to start with really strict rules, because if you ever do have an accidental discharge, something like that, it'll always be in a safe direction or in a controlled way. So it'll help you in the end, in the long run.
Especially with you guys that already own firearms, or those of you that plan to own one, you really want to start building the safety consistency and don't want to get complacent with your airsoft platform and have some of those bad habits carry over to a real firearm that can potentially kill somebody.
That can be very, very dangerous. Alright, so for our second point, we have eye protection and personal protection gear. Mason, why don't you take this one?
It's really, really simple. You know, we know you've had this beaten into your head, but full seal eye protection, full seal goggles at the very least. Try to stay away from mesh eye protection because bio BBs can be shattered. They have a tendency to shatter on impact with mesh. And also the paint that the mesh goggles are painted with can also have small particles get in your eyes. We also recommend protecting the rest of your face, whether that's with a lower mesh face mask or some kind of material here, or I've seen people wear like a sports mouth guard.
Is mesh okay on the bottom?
Mesh is okay on the bottom because if stuff gets in your mouth, that's, you know, it's not as bad as getting in your eye. But moving on, also try to protect your neck. You can protect your neck with a variation of things. Most popular is the shema. It's really, really efficient. You just wrap it and tie it. Also in the summer heat, it's really good to keep the sun off your neck. Moving on, another piece of good safety equipment is some gloves. Hard knuckle gloves if that's your thing. If not, just regular good gloves that are comfortable and you can still remain dexterous are really, really nice. These are some mechanics gloves. Mechanics gloves are fantastic. We got those in Coyote.
They're inexpensive too, right?
And they're inexpensive. They're really, really nice. Those things were under 20 bucks. And some last basic safety equipment that we thought of was some knee pads. They're a great investment. Buying these knee pads are cheaper than buying knee replacements a couple of years in the future. And kneeling on BBs sucks. But, you know, safety equipment, it's common sense. Don't be test firing your gun without eye protection. It's really, really simple because you can do some good bodily harm with these things.
It takes one BB.
One BB. Alrighty, guys, we're going to move on to topic number 3, which is transportation. Chris?
Alright, so this is something that a lot of people do wrong, but you got to be very careful with transporting your airsoft gun. So when you're transporting an airsoft gun, the number 1 thing is making sure that you have an orange tip, because if it's ever out in public, in a public area, you need to make sure that it has that orange tip on it. I know a lot of people might want the orange tip off because it's a model of a real gun, or it looks a lot nicer, or you took a picture of it, you didn't put the red tip back on. That's okay. Some fields will even allow you to take the orange tip off, but you need to have that orange tip on in your car transporting it somewhere. It's just a really, really good habit to get into. Maybe just unscrew your decorative one, your nice looking flash hider, put your orange one on. Just get into the habit of doing that. It's pretty easy to do. All you need is a 6mm band of orange around the tip of the barrel.
No, it's the diameter of a BB, that's it.
It's the diameter of a BB. No real excuses for that. The other thing is making sure that your gun is in a gun bag. Gun bags aren't that expensive. You could get an expensive one if you want multiple guns or just a cool looking one, but they're really not that expensive. They don't need to be that expensive. And if you don't want to spend the money, or you just don't have time to get one before a game or something, you can use the original box. That's fine. You could also use a gym bag. but you just need to make sure that your gun isn't exposed. It's better to just have it in a gun bag when you're walking from your house to your car, from your car to the field. If you're just walking across the street to your neighbor or something, or you're walking out to your car on the street, if you live in a neighborhood, the gun needs to be in a bag and not exposed. Really, really good habit to get into.
Also, it's not that hard when you get an airsoft gun, or if you already have one, to just knock on some neighbors' doors, you know, the immediate neighbors, and just let them know that you have this, just in case they do happen to catch a glimpse of it, you know, through the window, or you forgot to put it in a bag. It's much easier to knock on your neighbor's doors and explain, instead of explaining it to the police officers that will be knocking on your door. So just simple things, just take some time to do it.
Alright, for our last topic, we're going to go over playing fields. Mason, take it away.
Now, you guys should really only be playing airsoft in designated, privately owned airsoft fields and arenas that are owned by a company or a store or what have you. And a lot of people like to play on their own private property or in the woods, and that's fine as long as it meets a certain amount of requirements and just some general safety regulations. You guys shouldn't be playing in your backyard or on your front lawn, or even test firing it for that matter, if someone else's property or someone else is in range of that gun. You guys really need to be in a controlled environment that's safe and nothing else is in range that you don't want to end up damaging.
Like, for example, say you live in a small neighborhood, or a neighborhood where there's a lot of houses close together. It's probably not appropriate to play in your front or backyard, because a lot of times if your gun can be pointed in a direction where you can hit someone else's house or car, or BBs can be flying through their yard where a pet or a person may be, that's not an appropriate place to be playing airsoft, and you just need to be aware of that.
And a lot of people like to play in the woods, and if you have ample room, that's fine, but you need to make sure that you have more than enough room to safely play a game of airsoft. If other houses are in view or in range of that, you need to take the proper safety precautions. Let them know what you're doing, because people have reacted in a way where they call the police because, you know, the neighbors, teenagers are running around with guns and it just looks unsafe. You know, people are sensitive to this issue, so just take the proper precautions and let people know. And if you're playing in the woods, make sure it's a safe environment, that there's no people or animals walking around that are going to get hit.
Alright guys, so these were just a couple of the most basic and really the most important airsoft safety tips we wanted to remind you about.
You know, there are countless others out there. The two of us could write a book with all the airsoft and firearm safety rules that are out there, but we're not going to do that. But please take the knowledge in this video and share it with players that are just starting out and friends that just need a reminder. And also, if you see players that aren't abiding by these rules, just kindly let them know that they should probably be changing their behavior, because accidents do and have happened. And, you know, this game has been in the news in a negative light, and we really want airsoft to be portrayed in a positive light as a fun and safe activity in a controlled environment when handled properly. Chris, anything else to add?
Well, yeah, if you guys have any questions about any airsoft safety in general, or about any of the rules or the tips that we just mentioned, please ask about them in the comments below, or you can ask about them on our Facebook page. The links will be in the description. My name is Chris, this is Mason, and we're signing off.
And we're not wearing shoes.